You're watching NMH at 1, which brings you the latest news in Namibia, Africa, and the world, all through the lunch hour, highlighting current affairs, economic news, sports, and international headlines.
Now in today's news, hundreds left homeless in Katima Mulilo after their homes were demolished. LPM opposes planned in-situ mining by Russian company Headspring Investments. Royal family declares mourning period from now until 7 days after the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II.
I am Glenn Rashipura.
And I am Diana Master, and we'll be keeping you company for the next hour. Now in today's midday news update, Angola's Constitutional Court made a final ruling on Thursday to dismiss a complaint filed by the runner-up in the August 24 election, seeking to annul the results that gave victory to the ruling MPLA. After the country's most closely fought election, the Electoral Commission declared last week the People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola the winner, prolonging its nearly 5 decades of uninterrupted rule and handing President João Lourenço a second term.
In some local news, hundreds of residents from Luwanda informal settlements in Katima Mulilo yesterday afternoon saw their houses get demolished following an eviction order. According to Katima Mulilo CEO Rafael Liswanizio, this is the second time an eviction order is being carried out on the land in question. He said in 2017, hundreds of illegal land grabbers were evicted and moved to Nova informal settlement. Liswanizio said there is no room for land grabbing in Katima Mulilo. Kenya Kambowe contributed these visuals.
Remember to engage with these stories on social media as we share some community news stories from across the country on the other side of the short break in our visual news segment.
Getting into our visual news, Landless People's Movement leader Bernardo Swartboy says the party supports the stance of farming communities in the Maheke, Hardap, and Karas regions who are opposed to planned in-situ mining by Russian company Headspring Investment. The company and the Ministry of Agriculture are accused of not being transparent enough with regard to the issuance of water permits for explorative drilling. Let's take a look.
Pollution in one area means pollution in the other area. And the technology that they will be using is of such a nature that they cannot guarantee that once they put in the various assets they will be pumping in to make the uranium transit from its inert state to its radioactive state. That process cannot be guaranteed that there will be a very clear and unpolluted system. The consultations that have been had are very minute, and we are in absolute solidarity with the farmers of that area and the residents of Omaheke, particularly in the Amunus area, the residents of Harta, particularly in the Aranos Namrit area, and the residents of Karas in the Kwes Arwab area, that we must oppose this mine. There is nothing to be gained by giving a Russian or any company for that matter, from whichever country it comes, to give them the right to pollute and cause irreversible pollution at the expense of Namibians who are driving their own livelihoods without anyone giving them any sort of investment.
Now, the 2-day voluntary guidelines on the responsible governance of tenure training for members of parliament is currently underway at the Swakopmund Plaza Hotel. Speaking on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, Petrus Nangolo said VGGT seek to improve tenure governance with the overall goods of food security and the progressive realization of the right to adequate food and poverty eradication. Have a look.
This training is coming at a critical time I'm saying it's a critical time because at this point in time, Namibia is seized with the implementation of the resolutions of the Second National Land Conference that we just held in 2018. And among others, 32 years of independence. Namibia is yet to receive equitable distribution of land, more particularly to the dispossessed communities. I must mention that the land demand has since increased over the past 32 years because our population has grown from 1.2 million people to the projected 2.6 million people to date. Now, what causes, apart from population growth, what causes land demand to be a serious issue is because we are confronted to find land for food production. We are confronted to find land for commercial industrialization. We are confined to find land where extraction of natural resources must take place. We are confronted to find land for those who want to.
It is finally the weekend and everybody is looking forward to letting their head down and unwinding. If you still don't have any weekend plans, here's Michael Kayunde's take to take us through the trending events on the social scene this weekend.
Hello NMH at 1 viewers, my name is Michael Kayunde. I'm back on your TV screens to give you a lowdown of some of the events that are taking place this weekend. To start with, as you guys know, I have to let you know to check out that is Chill Sessions today at 1900 hours on Namibian Sun's Facebook page. That's the show where we get to let you know some of the music videos that are making headlines, killing it online everywhere else. So we get to give you a countdown of that. That is tonight, 1900 hours. And you can catch the repeat of the show tomorrow morning at 6:30. That is on NTV as well as GoTV. Moving along with our events that you need to check out this weekend, you can check out that is the first Namibia Opera taking place tonight at 1900 hours. It's taking place at the National Theatre of Namibia, NTN. Tickets are available at Web Tickets. It's an event that is being brought to you by artists from Namibia as well as Germany. And they will also have another German premiere, which we will also obviously cover and let you guys know. Moving along with some of the events that are still happening this weekend, if you are traveling to the coast or you are in the coast rather already, you can check out that is the Umpata movie premiere taking place also tonight at 1900 hours at the Atlanta Cinema. You guys know that they first had their sold out premiere here in Windhoek and they decided to take it to the coast. So if you're in the coast, Swakopmund to be specific, you can check out that is the Umpata movie premiere tonight at 1900 hours. From me, Michael, that's all I had for you for today. Until next time, it's bye-bye.
Now the Namibia University of Science and Technology headlines today's Namibian Sun after the institution lowered its pass mark. This story and more from the country's leading daily newspapers in the newspaper review after the break. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the news is in Namibia's daily newspapers. Starting off, the Namibian Sun reports that Queen Elizabeth II, the UK's longest reigning monarch, has died at the age of 96, Buckingham Palace has announced. In a statement, Buckingham Palace said the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral yesterday afternoon. In another story, the paper reports that on face value, unity within SWAPO's ranks is consolidated ahead of the upcoming Congress, but those in the know have whispered that the ruling party's mirage of oneness is eating it from within. From scrupulous underground lobbying and character assassination to stark divisions and the zeal to seal support from delegates at any cost, analysts warn that the outcome of tomorrow's Central Committee meeting, where the Congress campaign season will be officially opened, will determine the political behavior of candidates for the party's top 4 positions and their supporters. SWAPO's recent congresses have been a hotbed of contestation, so much so that the party has not had the luxury of enjoying post-Congress unity. On the paper's page 3, it reports that South Africa has lifted a countrywide ban on cattle movement it introduced about 3 weeks ago to control the spread of foot and mouth disease. The ban resulted in Namibia's Agriculture Ministry announcing measures that restrict the export of live cattle from Namibia into South Africa. Ministry spokesperson Jonah Musheko yesterday said they are closely following the events in South Africa and will inform the public as soon as they have a revised decision. According to Livestock Producers Organization chairperson Tinius there is still a lot of uncertainty around what exactly is open and what is not. He said at this stage, Namibia's export ban should remain in place.
In yet another damning court ruling against public health services in Namibia, the High Court ordered the Ministry of Health and Social Services to pay $425,000 Namibian dollars to a resident of Rehoboth after his wife died in the Marendal State Hospital in August 2019. The patient experienced extreme pain for 9 days. The doctor in charge failed to correctly identify the cause of her agony, while the whole time ensuring her husband that she is doing well. Plans to transfer the patient to Windhoek for emergency and possible life-saving care were not put into action, with no reason given to her husband for this failure. Still with Republican, a Congolese woman found guilty of smuggling 3 migrants into Namibia during 2017 was sentenced to 3 years in prison yesterday. Judge Dina Usika emphasized that the vulnerable victims were desperate and vulnerable, wanting to flee the war in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Abigail Bashala was sentenced to 3 years in jail on each of the 3 counts she was found guilty of, but the court ordered that these sentences shall be served concurrently. Bashala's defense asked for leniency due to her health problems and the fact that she supports 2 children.
Moving over, the Allgemeine Zeitung's front page highlights that the Anti-Corruption Commission met again with the public as well as the civil service to discuss and determine implementation of the NACSAP 2021 to 2025 Strategy and Action Plan. Director General Paulus Noah proudly boasted that the plan was of such quality that Uganda, as the leader of the peer review group sent by the AU to assess the Namibian master plan, openly admitted that they would want copies in order to follow the Namibian example. What the strategy, however, totally lacks are non-negotiable deadlines at which time certain goals need to have been met or tasks concluded. The standard excuse is that these are ongoing matters, but the fact remains that this omission turns the otherwise well-constructed plan into a dog without teeth. On the paper's page 2, it reports that as much as ongoing bush encroachment in Namibia is a problem for biodiversity and for farmers, it offers tremendous economic opportunities. The Biomass Fair, which ended yesterday with an industry conference, highlighted the successes of the sector's development. That brings us to the end of the first half of our newspaper review. We get into the second half right after this short break.
Active Kids is an initiative under the MyZone brand that aims to provide exciting and easy activities and fun stories. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na. Active Kids, where we actively invest in your future.
Continuing with our newspaper review, starting off with the Namibian, the Prime Minister Saraku Kongwela Abandila has charged government officials who allegedly use office time to conduct private affairs and use government phones to run their business. She made these remarks in Windhoek yesterday morning at the opening session of the National Steering Committee on the second National Anti-Corruption Strategy and Action Plan for 2021 to 2025. She said awareness needs to be created on what exactly corruption includes, adding that corruption is not just stealing money, but includes the use of one's position for self-enrichment. The paper's page 3 reports on a devastating state of affairs in Katima Mulilo, where residents of Luanyanta informal settlement yesterday helplessly watched their illegal dwellings being demolished by the Katima Mulilo Town Council. They say SWAPO has let them down. The demolition was carried out by the Town Council and Katima Investment as ordered by the court, which said residents have occupied this land illegally. One of the residents who rushed to the scene from work says that him and his pregnant sister do not have anywhere to sleep, while another resident said that the government's treatment of poor people does not come as a surprise.
Moving over to the front page of the New Era, a taxi driver is accused of a reign of terror in Windhoek's Okahanja Park location, reports New Era, after it emerged that he preys on young girls and threatens to kill them if they tell anyone that he violated them. The 48-year-old man is accused of impregnating a 12-year-old girl, raping another 12-year-old minor recently, while it has now also been revealed that he allegedly also raped one of the victim's aunts in 2007. The series of rape incidents came to light last week after one of the minors complained to her cousin that she was experiencing pain in her private parts after she was sexually molested by her neighbor. After hearing this, her cousin went to the police and a medical examination followed, which showed that she was 7 weeks pregnant. The abuse of the minor girls has been ongoing from July 2021 until August this year. On page 3, the paper reports that 4 catering companies were selected by the Education Ministry to deliver food to 63,000 learners housed in government hostels countrywide will continue with their duties after the High Court granted a temporary urgent interdict against the cancellation and re-advertising of the tender. Yesterday, the High Court Judge Boas Usiku ruled in favor of the Education Ministry by granting the interdict it sought last month against a review panel's decision to suspend the food tender awarded to Tsepo Catering, Kunene Caterers, Atlantic Catering Solutions and Ayambeko Namibia Catering Services in July due to proper procedure not being followed.
Market Watch reports on the well-known Okapuka Game Ranch situated just outside Windhoek on the road to Okahanja, which recently entered into an exciting joint venture with Gondwana Collection Namibia. A collaboration between Gondwana and Okapuka will mean starting a new chapter for both companies, where the authentic Savannah bushveld with a well-established game lodge on Windhoek's doorsteps will join Gondwana's long-established customer base and footprint in the tourism market.
Now, after the break, we zoom in on the farming prospects for the coming rainy season. Stay with us.
Getting into our economic news, farmers are encouraged to prepare for good rainy season and while also continuing to build adaptive climate change capacity through various strategies. This include optimal rangeland management, restocking, and farm diversification. Now, according to the Climate Outlook for October to March issued by the Southern African Regional Climate Outlook Forum, Southern African countries are likely to receive a normal to above normal rainfall throughout the rainfall season. The seasonal forecast gives hope to farmers that the herd rebuilding efforts will not go in vain. Agribank said in its latest monthly market watch, above normal rainfall is expected for January to March next year. The total sheep marketed in July was 53,015, translating to 100% growth from 26,477 sheep marketed in July last year. Live sheep export to South Africa stood at 42,273 in July from 26,273 last year. Now, local sheep slaughtering recorded a 10% increase to 10,197 in July from 9,284 in July 2021. Meanwhile, at its latest meeting, the Meat Board of Namibia decided to request the Agriculture Ministry to abolish the sheep marketing scheme. This follows a request by sheep sector representatives after a cabinet decision in 2019 to postpone the implementation of the scheme for 1 year, which will then enable the ministry to reevaluate and it proposed intensive measures to limit sheep exports. The sheep marketing scheme was introduced in 2004 to ensure supply to sheep abattoirs. At least 22,967 cattle were marketed in July this year, which translates into an 8% decrease from 25,090 marketed in 2021.
Now in our next story, South African companies operating in Zimbabwe are increasingly under pressure as the operating environment deteriorates and new regulations eat into their income. Dallas Langman, Africa Managing Director for Pick n Pay, says while its Zimbabwean supermarkets are resilient, the division was operating under extremely challenging economic conditions. Zimbabwe's year-on-year inflation has surged to 257% in August, and the gap between the official local exchange rate and the street value is large. Companies in Zimbabwe are required to price their products and services in both foreign currency and in local currency using the official exchange rate. But many of their smaller local suppliers using the street value for their pricing, which puts the squeeze on larger companies who have to sell their products at the official rates. They must also pay some of their input costs in US dollars. Cost lines are dollarizing faster than income streams, which means the proportion of costs in forex terms is higher than the proportion of income in forex, said Panashi Chitumba, Chief Risk Officer at Standard Bank's unit in the country, Stanbic. Local manufacturers, like many traders in Zimbabwe, now increasingly require banks to support their businesses with both local currency and forex facilities, added Chitumba. Some South African companies are now pushing for more of their sales to be in foreign currency. This helps them to cover for their forex requirements in terms of production and raw materials. They argue that foreign currency, which they are often unable to procure from the government-run official market, is necessary to keep them in business. Hence, they are resorting to exclusive US dollar sales to raise forex.
Let's take a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar is down in value when weighed against the British pound, while rising in value against these other currencies. MTC stocks will now cost 0.4% less on the NSX, while Namibia breweries' stock prices are also down by 0.2%. Paradise Namibia stocks are trading just below 13 Namibian dollars, while SBN and Trustco Group holdings will now cost more on the NSX. Commodities have all increased in price, notably gold now valued at $1,709.35.
Now in Namibia, more than 3,000 residents of Indombo compound in Sumeb were evicted after they failed to pay their rental fees on Monday. We'll be back with news from other African countries after this short commercial break.
Getting into our African news, kidnappings are not new in Africa's most populous country, where Boko Haram jihadis made worldwide headlines in 2014 when they abducted 276 schoolgirls in the northeastern town of Chibok. But hostage-taking has since snowballed into an industry now largely led by criminals, with authorities seemingly powerless to stop them. Now, the phenomenon, along with general insecurity, will be a major issue in Nigeria's election in February 2023 to replace President Muhammadu Buhari. At least 5 times more people were kidnapped in Nigeria last year than in both Mexico and Colombia combined, according to estimates from the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project. Now, families and entire communities who pool their savings to pay ransoms are being destroyed, with money hostages afraid or ashamed of reporting their ordeals. Now, businesses too are affected, with many spending fortunes to protect their assets. Data on kidnapping is notoriously unreliable because of underreporting, but ACLAD estimates almost 3,000 people were taken last year.
In our next story, South Africa is facing a shortage of birth control stock at public health facilities. A 2022 independent study by Richie's Project, a community-led clinic monitoring organization, indicates that stockouts of contraceptives represented 40% of all medicine stockouts reported. Rural Doctors Association of South Africa says this poses a huge risk for unplanned pregnancy. Dr. Indira Govender, Rural Doctors Association of South Africa member, said information on depleted birth control stocks was sourced from 400 primary healthcare facilities in South Africa. Healthcare workers in public health institutions have been forced to give patients alternative birth controls. However, health rights experts say this is not a sustainable solution due to side effects like hormonal changes. Many healthcare workers, when there was a shortage of contraceptives, would recommend an alternative method, which of course is not an unreasonable response from a healthcare worker who wants to do the best for their patient. We know that women who cannot get access to contraceptives may need to negotiate condom usage, and we know that South Africa a high rate of gender-based violence, so these negotiations might be difficult, said Claire Waterhouse, Doctors Without Borders Regional Advocacy Coordinator. Ordinary South Africans believe failure to meet birth control stocks threatens the reproductive health of women and families. Now, Johannesburg-based Tando Kuba and Amanda Magazi believe the Department of Health should focus its energy in ensuring there are sufficient stocks throughout the country's public healthcare facilities.
In our next story, Ghana's former president John Mahama has blamed the country's economic woes on corruption, mismanagement of COVID-19 funds, excessive borrowing, and the high cost of banking reforms, among other factors. He was reacting to comments by IMF Managing Director Kristinala Georgieva, who attributed the country's economic challenges to the global pandemic and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The government of President Nana Akufo-Addo has said the crisis is due to external factors. Ghana's economy has been struggling of late with inflation over 30%. Now, the government is currently holding talks with the IMF to secure a 3-year bailout program worth $3 billion.
Now, after 70 years on the throne, Queen Elizabeth II, the UK's longest reigning monarch, has died at the age of 96. After the break, we check in on how the United Kingdom is commemorating the day. Stay with us. Headlining our international news, a period of mourning for the royal family will be observed from now until 7 days after the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, the United Kingdom's longest reigning monarch, who died yesterday. Buckingham Palace says the date of the Queen's funeral has not yet been confirmed. Separate to national mourning, which the government is expected to outline today, royal mourning is to be observed by the members of the royal family. Royal household staff and representatives of the royal household on official duties, together with troops committed to ceremonial duties. The Queen's state funeral is expected to take place at Westminster Abbey in less than 2 weeks. The exact date will be confirmed by Buckingham Palace. There will be a remembrance service at St. Paul's Cathedral today, attended by the Prime Minister and other senior ministers. Now, because the Queen died in Scotland, her coffin will lie at rest at St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh. The public may be allowed to view the coffin after a few days. Gun salutes of 96 rounds to mark each year of her life will be fired in Hyde Park and elsewhere. The Union flag will be flown at half-mast on government buildings until the morning after the funeral. After 70 years on the throne, we have become accustomed to seeing the Queen's portrait, profile and coat of arms across everyday objects such as coins and cereal boxes. All 29 billion coins in circulation in the UK have the Queen's head on them. The Royal Mint won't say how or when it will start issuing coins with King Charles III's head on them, but it's likely that the Queen's coins will remain in circulation for many years and that the process to replace them will be a gradual one. However, Royal Mail will now stop producing Queen Elizabeth II stamps and will begin the process to create new ones.
In our next story, swiftly advancing Ukrainian troops were bearing down on the main railway supplying Russian forces in the east on Friday, after the collapse of a section of Russia's front line caused the most dramatic shift in the war's momentum since its early weeks. In a video address, President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukrainian troops had liberated dozens of settlements and reclaimed more than 1,000 square kilometers of territory in the east and south in the past week. Zelensky posted a video in which Ukrainian soldiers said they had captured the eastern town of Balakalia, which lies along a stretch of front stretching south of Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city. Now, the Ukrainian military said it had advanced nearly 50 kilometers through the front after an assault that appeared to take the Russian by surprise. That would make it by far the fastest advance by either side in the war since Russia was forced to abandon its disastrous assault on the capital Kyiv in March. Now, Moscow has so far offered no official response to the reports of the breakthrough on the Kharkiv front. Ukraine has yet to allow independent journalists into the area to confirm the extent its advances, but Ukrainian news websites have shown pictures of troops cheering from the top of armored vehicles as they roll past street signs bearing the names of previously Russian-held towns and Russian forces surrendering on the side of the road.
That brings us to the end of our international news. We get into our local sports news right after the break.
Got me feeling fresh.
Let's get into our local sports news. Hank Botha says he has unearthed two teenagers with potential to the world by storm like Christine Bomber did. Botha tipped that the mystery 18 and 19-year-old prodigies will shake up the world athletics in the not-so-distant future. Botha did not want to reveal the identity of the upcoming athletes, saying they were focused on qualifying for the next year's African Games and Commonwealth Games.
In our next story, some of the Southern Africa's top squash players will be in action at the BDO Namibia Squash Open, which will take place at Wanderers from 15 to 17 September. South Africa's current #1 player, Devald van Meerkerk, and other top-ranked players will be in action among the men.
The final trial in the Standard Bank Winter Series, the Dunes, will take place on 17 September in Swakopmund. The race will start and finish at Tiger Reef Beach Bar. As per the other events in the series, participants can choose between an 8-kilometer or a 6-kilometer distance. The events attract both competitive and social participants, walkers and runners.
After the break, we get into our international sports news. Stay with us. Now, Chelsea have appointed Graham Potter as their new manager following the sacking of Thomas Tuchel. Potter has left fellow Premier League club Brighton to take up the role and has signed a 5-year deal with the Blues. The 47-year-old said he was incredibly proud and excited to represent Chelsea. Potter's first game in charge will be an away derby with fellow West London club Fulham on Saturday. His assistant Billy Reid, first-team coaches Bjorn Hamburg and Bruno goalkeeping coach Ben Roberts, and assistant head of recruitment Kyle Macaulay will join him at Chelsea, who have paid Brighton in excess of £21 million in compensation.
In our next story, horse racing was halted on Thursday following the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, while Friday plays in cricket test match between England and South Africa was called off. All Friday race meetings in Britain have also been cancelled, along with the same day's Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy cricket fixtures. The second day of the PGA Championship Golf on Friday will not take place. The English Football League has also postponed its 2 games on Friday. A decision on the weekend Premier League and EFL fixture will be made after a review of the official morning guidance plus consultation with other sports and the Department for Culture, Media and Sport.
Now, Tunisia's Ange Jabeur will face world #1 Iga Swiatek for the US Open women's singles title after both won their semi-finals on Thursday. Fifth seed Jabeur, who's 28 years old, reached back-to-back Grand Slam finals by winning 6-1, 6-3 against France Caroline Garcia. Poland's 2-time major winner Swiatek, who's 21, moved into her first US Open final with a 3-6, 6-1, 6-4 victory over Belarusian 6th seed Arina Sabalenka. The final takes place in New York on Saturday.
After the break, we'll be taking a look at the highlights. Do stay with us.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is, bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navraag, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
NMH at 1, and if you have just joined us, here are your news highlights. Kidnappings are not new in Nigeria, where Boko Haram jihadis made worldwide headlines in 2014 when they abducted 276 schoolgirls, but hostage-taking has since snowballed into an industry now largely led by criminals, with authorities seemingly powerless to stop them. A period of mourning for the royal family will be observed from now until 7 days after the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, the United Kingdom's longest reigning monarch, who died yesterday. Hank Waters says he has unearthed 2 teenagers with potential to take the world by storm like Christina Boma did. Waters tipped that the mystery 18 and 19-year-old prodigies will shake up the world athletics in the not-so-long distant future.
Those have been your highlights. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with me, Diana Master and Glenora Shipura. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. That is it from us in studio, but don't go anywhere because up next is news from Namibia's Irongo region in this next segment. Have a splendid weekend.
Africa Good Morning is a current affairs program that brings you the latest from Southern Africa and beyond. News, economics, sport, weather, interviews, and so much more. For any advertising or news-related queries, contact AGM at synergy.com.na. Africa Good Morning, bringing Africa to you.
Hello viewers and welcome to another special episode of Irongo Talk. I'm your host Dikanor Nangolo and today we are reporting to you from Long Beach here in Walvis Bay, where as per usual we bring you your latest news updates with the tides, and today we also have a chat with Jonathan Harris, the founder and organizer of Miss Teen Swakop Moon Beauty Pageant, which is taking place this weekend, so you do not want to miss this. So stay tuned, we'll be right back after the break. And now for our first story of the day, Seagulls of Namibia, a private choir based in Swakopmund, will be hosting a musical fundraising concert on the 11th of September. The performance will be held at the German Lutheran Church in Swakopmund is being hosted to help raise funds for the choir's traveling expenses to Spain to compete at the World Choir Games Sing for Gold. This is our final concert in Swakopmund before we depart for our international trip to the World Choir Games Sing for Gold in Spain. This concert, not to be missed, is also an excellent preparation for this event that we are going to represent as Namibia, said the conductor of the Seagulls Choir of Namibia, Wilna Liebenberg. The Interculture, world's leading organizer of international choirs and competition, will be hosting the Choir Games Sing for Gold to celebrate 10 years of choral music in Spain. Choirs from all over the world are invited to compete for medals, a place in the world rankings, and especially for the Golden World Cup of Choirs, which will be awarded for the first time in Spain. And now for our second story of the day, ukulist and songwriter Monique Momo Merits from Swakopmund is working on her album titled Wonderful Life. The ukulele is a small guitar of the Portuguese origin popularized in the Hawaiian in 80s and strung off typically with 4 strings. The instrument is tuned differently than a guitar, with fewer notes and a much smaller sonic range. The album will consist of 9 woven songs that are very close and personal to her. I cannot truly pinpoint what genre my music is, but some might say indie. My dear friend Zacharias plays his sweet guitar melodies on most of the recorded songs, and I'm honored to have him being part of this special project. The message I intend to share with this album is for us to take a moment and remember how wonderful life is in all of its phases. I want to remind everyone to follow their heart and stay true to themselves, Momo said. And now for our final story, the brave Gladiators beat Eswatini 5-1 to win their second encounter of the COSAFA Women's Championship yesterday afternoon, but coach Paulus Shipanga says that they could have scored more. Brave Gladiators of Namibia heads coach Paulus Shipanga said his side's performance in the COSAFA Women's Championship wasn't 100%, but they bagged the goals they wanted. We could have gotten more goals. The players played and execution worked. From now on, morale will go up. We've considered a silly mistake caused a goal. It's back to the drawing board. We could have had a breather if we scored more goals. So I'm not happy with the missed chances, he said. Zoanita Coleman was voted player of the match, attributed their win to the grace of God. We created chances in the first match against Zambia last Thursday, but didn't score. So we really need to score more goals. So we really need to score more goals. I give credit to my coach and my team. We really wanted to win this match for ourselves and our country. Now, if you want to read more on this or any of our other stories, you can check out our website. That's at www.tirongo.com.na. Up next, we have our interview, so stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break.
Platamir is a landmark on the coastline of Namibia, a home to quality shops and quality restaurants, a select variety of fashion and food retailers, as well as banks, not to mention the pier with 36 luxury apartments and entertainment for the whole family. Find us at corner of Tavarat and Albatross Street, Vineta North, Swakopmund. Call us on 064 462 242. Visit platamir.com.na or at Platamir on Facebook. Platamir, enhancing your coastal experience.
Okay, joining me here is Jonathan Harris. He's a man who carries many titles here in Swakopmund. But for now, he is the founder and the organizer of the Miss Teen Swakopmund pageant, which is taking place this weekend. Now, Jonathan, just give us the lowdown. What is happening this weekend?
Well, you know the saying that goes bigger and better, and that is what you can all expect for this year's Miss Teen Swakopmund. Just diving back into the history of Miss Teen Swakopmund, for the past 4 years, we've tried to create a local pageant that creates quality young teenagers that can then go represent us nationally in either, if so to say, they want to Miss Teen Namibia, and then just jumpstart their journey in all aspects of life, because Miss Teen Swakopmund is not just a platform where girls are taught modeling, but we dive into different aspects of life. We give them social skills, we teach them about etiquette, public speaking, and then of course entirely we teach them how to just be confident in themselves and enjoy every experience that life throws to you, because this is a platform that you can build on and then from there just go from it. So what you guys can expect for the 5th annual Miss Teen Swakopmund is lights, cameras, and action. So the girls have been training for weeks on end to make sure that they know their routines, they giving you a quality show, and then just they show that the Miss Teen Swakopmund pageant organization is quality, and that is what we plan to give you for this show. It is taking place on the 10th of September, which is this coming Saturday. And yeah, it is at the Swakopmund Hotel and Entertainment Center. And the red carpet will start at 5:30. The main event will start at 6:30. Yes.
Okay. How many finalists do we have this year?
Last year we had 8 finalists, which was, of course, not so nice, but this year went up to our 12 finalists. As each year we have 12 finalists. So 12 ladies will be competing for the coveted title of Miss Teen Swakopmund 2022. And yeah, if you are interested in any case, come out and come watch the show. But I need to say, if this is you watching this today, or if this is only airing tomorrow, unfortunately we'll be sold out.
There we go. Now, quickly tell us, what's the theme for this year's Miss Teen pageant?
So the event does not have a theme. However, our colors is gold, brown, and black. But the theme that the girls will be dressed in for their costume attire is elements of earth. So it can be earth, fire, and water. So those are the 3 themes that our girls will be dressed in. So be ready to be amazed when a girl walks up and she decided to come up with live fire. If someone throws a water bottle at you with water splashing out, or if there's a literal tree walking on the stage, they have definitely put in effort into these costumes. We will be revealing the costumes by Friday already, so that people know what they can expect, just to give more anticipation as to what they can expect at the event. But speaking more on the event, we have a panel of 6 judges this year. Our judges are made up of beauty queens. They're made up of somatologists, hairdressers, makeup artists, generational mentors in pageantry. So we have a diverse panel of judges. They consist of people that have been in the industries for quite some time, and some of them are business owners. So we just made sure that the judges that we selected for this year know what they have on their plate to select a new title holder, and just make the most of every year's panel of judges, because that is an important aspect of the entire pageant.
Awesome. Now you've heard it, be there or be square. Now, Jonathan, you also recently participated in the Mr. Teen Star International competition in Thailand. Just tell us about your experience there.
Well, I'm still your Mr. Teen Star Namibia 2022. My reign will be ending in December. First of all, it was a privilege, all glory to God. And then secondly, thanking my national director, Bobby Kanyosa. But in getting into that, it was an absolute privilege to represent our country, the land of the brave, on an international stage in Bangkok, Thailand, meeting new people, indulging in amazing cuisine, and then overall walking on a stage and being able to say, my name is Jonathan Harris, representing Namibia. The pageant took place in Central Ayutthaya, which was in one of the other suburbs, and not Central Bangkok. Then we had different days where we drove to different suburbs to go compete. So we had the national costume competition, we had the swimsuit competition, the final night, and all of those things. So there was a lot of small aspects that got together to then the final night, which was where we had to then have the evening gown, as well as the evening suit, and then as well as the swimsuit competition. But overall, amazing experience. And if anyone would be interested to partake in Teen Star International next year, I would say you need to thoroughly think it over, because if there's one thing that I would say that was a bad experience, is the biasness that came from it, because we went to go compete in an Asian country, which was stuck on the Asian stereotypes and all of those things that got to go with modeling and pageant kings and queens. So if you're an African country, you need to do thorough research on that, and that I could say I didn't do that. I was more on the thing of do my proper pageant preparation, get your wardrobe, get all of those things like, international pageants do. But this is not what their criteria was, and that is where I would say I was a bit shocked and not so happy. But overall, I came back to Namibia with getting 3 awards. I got Best Suit, another round of applause to my amazing designer, Luis Zuriel from Windhoek. He did an amazing job with that suit. And then, of course, I got back with first runner-up for friendship. Namibians are friendly people. And then lastly, I also got the... What did I get? I forgot. It was quite a while back. It was the best suit, first runner-up for friendship, and then the...
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it. First runner-up in photogenic. As you can see, that was another award. So overall, amazing experience, and that's that.
Awesome.
Yes.
And then just finally, just your message to the people or to future Mr. Teen Stars International Namibia. What would you like to tell our youth?
Let's cut it down to 2 messages. Like I said, if anyone is interested in competing in international pageants, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. There's so many pop-up pageants these days that are just out here for the money. And I'm sad to see that happen, but you need to be that individual that does your research. You know what you're getting yourself into, and you know who you're working with. Because if you jump into something like this and you're not prepared, you will not have a good experience, and you wouldn't want to do any pageantry or any modeling in the future. Now, a message for the youth, like I always do when it comes to you guys. I got a message the other day on social media that told me, you're not my inspiration. You're an inspiration for all youth out there. And every time I get something like that, it warms my heart because, yes, you have, like they say, the haters that want to break you down for what you're doing. But then you have that 1 or 2 individuals that get back to you and tell you what you're doing is amazing. So firstly, I want to thank those people for seeing me and what I'm doing and appreciating it. Then I want to say, know that you have the same world-changing capabilities in you. You have that same power, and you can make a change, whether it's big or small. So stand up, stand your ground, and cement yourself into your environment, and know that every day you stand up, you have the possibility, or you have the opportunity to walk in your purpose that our dear Lord Jesus Christ, through God himself, has set out for you and your life. But overall, enjoy every time of your life.
Awesome. It's always a pleasure speaking to you, Mr.
Definitely.
Jonathan Harris, right here on Irongo Talk.
Thank you so much.